Hi there, this is Devin Townsend, and you are listening to the Progcast.
Welcome back to the Progcast, to another episode of the Progcast. I'm your host Dario, and with me calling from all the way from Canada is the one and only Devin Townsend. Hi, how are you doing?
Good, Dario, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm super excited about all these new crazy albums that are coming out this fall or late summer, fall in the prog scene, and you, of course, you also have one around the corner, a new live album that is gonna drop in October, on October 23rd, right? Order of magnitude. And
Correct.
2020 is, of course, a very weird year for everyone. We already had Ross Jennings from Haken and Novena on the show earlier this year. He was actually one of the very first we called when the lockdown started. And he also recalled, of course, what happened on that tour. So maybe you can also give us your quick rundown of events when the US or North American tour suddenly had to stop.
Well, we were in Graceland, where Elvis lived. There's a hotel there, which, not being a huge Elvis fan, was surreal to begin with, because it's just massive pictures of Elvis everywhere. And we were ready to play the show the next day. We had a day off at this Graceland hotel. And then we heard about a travel ban. We had been hearing about the coronavirus the whole time, and it was concerning, but we didn't want to pull the plug on the tour because of the ramifications financially that it would have on bands and crew and audience, everybody alike. But then that day, they announced a travel ban, which ultimately ended up, I think it was like 3 days later. If we had stayed, we wouldn't have been able to get back into Canada.
Oh, wow.
So I was sick already, and I called a meeting with the tour manager, and he told me to make the decision as to whether or not we would cancel the remainder of the tour. And as you could imagine, that's a heck of a decision to have to be making. And I gave it some thought, and then I called a meeting with everybody, and I took them downstairs, and we decided, and I decided that the tour would end that night. And within 2 hours, we went from getting ready to the show the next day to finding flights to get out of America, right? And at the time, it was a very hard decision to make, because who knew? There was still tours going on. There weren't many tours that had canceled by that point. And although it was the right decision to make with the travel ban and all that, it was a very nerve-wracking one to make, because I had to do it on intuition rather than any sort of facts. But then there was another tour that happened at the same time that was out. It was Death Angel and Testament, and a lot of the people on that tour got sick. And in fact, the merch person on our tour got coronavirus when she went back to Spain, and her parents got it, and the whole works. So as hard of a decision as it was to make, it was the right one.
Yes, we all know what happened after that. The lockdown continued for, here in Germany, it was, I think, at least 3 months, and then we started to open up slowly, and we are actually having concerts again here with social distancing measures in place. But when you returned home, you started doing some stuff about it that you probably hadn't planned for 2020, like the 3 amazing charity streams and all that stuff. How did that came about, that you you did
Well, when I got back from the tour, I was really sick, and so I had to quarantine myself in a hotel. And after 2 days, I had difficulty breathing, so I called up the hospital, and they immediately, dude, it was frightening how quickly they sent it out because it had just begun and people were panicking.
Yeah.
They sent out an ambulance at like 5 a.m, and they brought me to the hospital, and they gave me the test where they put the thing up into your nose, and
Oh wow.
and then I had to quarantine myself for 2 weeks before we could get the test results, and I was like really sick. And so I didn't want to spend money and be in a hotel for 2 weeks when I was home. So what I did was I went home and just locked myself in my studio. And I just had my family bring food to the door.
Wow.
And after about a week, I was just like, well, what else am I going to do? You know, here I'm here. I might as well just start picking away and see what I got. And because the tour had ended so abruptly, we lost a lot of money. And I put up a GoFundMe that the audience could contribute to that would offset some of the losses, which was really cool because people stepped up to the plate, and I was very thankful for it. But there was also a certain amount of people that were very critical of me for putting up a GoFundMe, thinking that, well, at this time when people are losing their jobs, it seems really insensitive for you to do so. And although all I was trying to do was get money for band and crew and expenses and all this stuff, I did understand that. So what I started doing was putting together quarantine concerts that were for charity. And I did 3, and we raised nearly 200,000 euro for hospitals with those 3 charity concerts. And then it just started seeming to me that I am so fortunate to have this career. I'm so fortunate to be able to do what I do. And I know how to do a lot of things. And through this pandemic, it's forced me to learn about a lot of other things like Photoshop or Premiere Pro or Twitch or these concerts or podcasts or anything. And I figured that if there's one thing that unifies humanity right now, because there's very little that unifies us, but if there's one thing that unifies us, it's that we're all having to deal with this shit. Even if you believe it or if you don't believe it, or if you're mask or anti-mask, it doesn't matter. We're all affected by it. So there's something very unifying with that on some weird, twisted level. And so I thought my contribution to society is best demonstrated by what I'm good at. And the thing that I'm best at doing is music. So I decided to contribute in the ways that I can to try and make things easier for some people. And I find that it all sort of benefits itself. Like I'm able to continue because people help me, and then I help others. And, you know, it's a cyclical thing. And it became important for me to honor that, I guess.
Yeah, wow. You also have another live stream coming up. Is that correct?
I do, yeah.
So, what's the plan this time around? Is it
the shittiest Halloween party ever?
That sounds familiar with when I remember the Vampira video.
It's basically a Vampira video. I mean, that's the goal, right?
Just longer.
But shittier.
Okay. Is it gonna be just you alone like the others, or will
you'll see? It's this one's funny. It's funny. This one's live though. The last one I had to do it pre-recorded and sort of MC it or like curate it. But this one's live, and I've got a bunch of guests, and yeah, man, it's gonna be funny.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure.
I agree.
Talking about order of magnitude, Empath Live Volume 1. Did you, before all of this happened, did you plan on releasing a live record from this tour?
I think it was always in the back of my mind, and only because I felt from the beginning that there's a possibility that I'd never be able to do it again. You know, it's like logistically and financially and personnel wise, it was a perfect storm where everything kind of came together, and it was such an undertaking, and it was such a massive amount of everything that it's just not practical to do that. So I thought that we should really try and capture this in case we don't get to do it again. And so I did. And then it just turned out that we have a pandemic. So might as well do it.
So where was it recorded then?
London at the Roundhouse, same place that I had done the Retinal Circus a few years prior.
Nice venue. Unfortunately, I've never been there. I've seen you a couple of times in different venues, like here in Munich, of course, in the backstage venue.
Of course.
And I was actually last night. I was there seeing Ginger. That was the first
were they?
international concert since the lockdown. Yeah. And
How were they?
They were brilliant as always. Yeah.
Yeah, they really are great.
Crazy band. And
yep.
I also saw you in Barcelona at Prog, my friend.
You saw that one.
You remember that show?
Was that because we did it twice. One time I basically just talked for 40 minutes, and then the other time was a little different than that. Which one was it?
It was the one with the 15 minutes stand-up comedy.
Shit. Okay.
Until the computer worked again.
The computer worked. Okay. I remember that one very well, man. Too well.
All right. So yeah, you have a long career, obviously, by now, and a very huge back catalog. So when you go on tour, how do you go about assembling the set list? Or especially now for the Empath tour and what ended up on the live album.
It depends on what the tour is like, because like I said a minute ago, this last tour, or the one that the Order of Magnitude band, because there's so much to do to put it together, and because it cost so much to make, and because it was so over the top, I felt ultimately that it was an experience that I was doing for myself. It's almost like this one's for me. So for that one, I chose a set list entirely on my own, and I didn't take too much into consideration. You know, I added Deadhead and Kingdom because I knew people would like that. But other than that, I did what I wanted to do. I played, Gatto and War and Evermore and, these sorts of things. But other shows, like I did the Green Screen show with the Volume 2 band. And I felt like with that one, it was more important for me to ask the audience what they wanted. So it becomes more like not a best of, but by request. And so it all depends on the show. It all depends on the scenario. And I like leaving it up to each situation being something different rather than, spending too much time and effort stressing about it. It's the nature of each show is different depending on the people who are involved. And so the set list tends to be different as a result.
Yeah. So that's gonna be the newest live release from the Devin Townsend camp. It's the 7th. If I look here at the Prog archives,
oh, God.
But they do list an official bootleg from 1999. So I would assume you don't count this as an official live release.
Well, I don't know. It kind of was at the time, but man, I've done a lot of records. I mean, I think it's ultimately. I get comments from people a lot of time. They say, "Oh, you work too much. You do too much work." And I think, yeah, but I love my job and it's what I do. And once my day's chores are done, once the meditation is done, once your exercise is done, once you've taken care of the family, what else am I going to do? I already read. I mean, I read a book at night. I don't really watch TV. I hate being on social media all the time. It's like, so you can only go for so many walks before you're like, well, I might as well go make some music. And so that's what I do. And I think I've become proficient enough at my recording process that I can make music really quickly, and I can mix, and I can do artwork, and I mean, I'm a one-man wrecking crew.
Yeah, you keep yourself very busy with all the streams. You do the podcast series, and now the live DVD and CD. Of course, you probably put a lot of work in there as well. But you just said, yeah, you're pretty quick in creating new music. So, yeah, is there anything that's brewing? So to
Always,
speak.
dude, always. Yeah, I've got about 25 songs I've been writing, but I don't know if there's a record in there. Actually, I know there isn't. There's a couple songs that are cool. There's a couple of vibes that are cool. There's a couple of riffs that are cool, but it's not solidified into an identity yet. And making records for me, as quickly as I do write, it's about putting a puzzle together, and that takes time. So I just kind of show up every day and work. Like, that's my technique. It's not, there's no magic to it. There's no particular skill set. It's just, I show up and do it. And then every day I do stuff. And then eventually there's a bunch of stuff done.
Sounds so simple.
It is, in a sense. And I also think it's, I find a lot of times too with other musicians, I have musician friends that say, you I don't understand how you get so much work done. And my reaction to that is, I don't understand how you don't. Like, what are you doing all day? What do you do? Like, and I'm not just talking about spare time, but just what do you do? Like, you go for a walk, you take care of your parents and your family, and do your chores, and read a book, and watch some TV, and eat, and every now and then you go to the beach or whatever. What do human beings do other than that? Like, maybe I just don't know, because I think, okay, well, then you just get to work. You just work.
Does it feel like work for you?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I do the productions, and I do all the engineering too, right? So editing drums, or file management, or computer maintenance, or cleaning up, or like vocal line, or it's all that stuff is like digging ditches. I think that probably 5% of my job is creative, and the rest of it is just digging ditches. Like, and they're great ditches. I love it, but this week is all interviews. Like, so I have 5 hours of interviews in a day. Plus, I have to do the ads. I've got to check out all these tabs that were done. I'm making stems for this thing. I'm doing a clinic on the weekend for recording and production. I'm doing videos for these gear companies that I'm working with, and it's all a blessing in a lot of ways. But none of it is like writing music. None of it is me being like, oh, I'm going to create. I'm just like, well, I wake up at 7 and I say, okay, we got Zoom interviews today, and we got the interviews, and we got the emails, and we've got the, you know what I mean? It's like, so, yeah, that part certainly seems like work. Oh my God. But you can't tell that. You can't usually say that out loud, because I think a lot of people feel that being a musician is there's no work involved. So I don't want to ruin the fantasy.
Speaking about the creative process, you already said that you have a lot of things going on that might go somewhere. Do you have a feeling which direction it will take? As I mean, there was a huge step between Transcendence and Empath, because your Transcendence was still with the Devin Townsend project, and then Empath was a completely solo album again. So do you have a hint maybe, or a feeling where things will be going with the new material you're currently creating?
I've got a hint. Yeah. I mean, it won't be as straight ahead as Transcendence. It won't be as out to lunch as Empath. But I think it'll maybe be somewhere between the two, but it's not going to come out until 2022. So I still got a year of writing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just answering my kid here.
No worries. So the Progcast is actually kind of the continuation of the or a collaboration with Freaks TV, with my colleague Randy M. Salo, and you did two interviews with them back in 2015 and 17, I think, and in one of them it was the progressive metal series Into the Machine, where you were kind of philosophizing about what does it mean being progressive, or what progressive music actually means. How do you see the progressive music scene since then progressing? Do you follow the scene in a way? Do you follow other new artists, or not at all?
Not at all. Not even a little bit. I mean, I think these genre definitions are created more just for categorization, or maybe people have. Maybe if you're younger, I don't know, maybe there's like something that comes with like being part of a club. Like we only listen to, what was that, progressive vegetarian grindcore or whatever it is. It's like, and it's like, and we have a certain outfit or what have you. And for me, I've never really been wholeheartedly welcomed into any scene. All the other prog bands, I don't get the impression that they're like thrilled that I'm part of the scene.
Really?
Yeah, not really. And then metal, I never really felt like, even with Strapping and Lad, it was like, because it was brutal, we were out with, Napalm Death and Nile and all this stuff, but I never got the impression it's like, oh yeah, we're one of those bands. It's like, so for me, I always view music and everything that comes out of me is just it's just music. And sometimes I do metal, and sometimes I do new age, sometimes I do orchestral, sometimes I do pop, sometimes I do jazz, sometimes I do avant-garde, and it doesn't really matter. So maybe that's progressive, I don't know. But honestly, I guess the best way for me to describe it is that I and this is not to be a dick about it either, it's just I just don't care, right? And so however people feel the need to define what I do is absolutely fine. Like, it's entirely up to them.
So we're nearing the end of the interview, and we have a little section that we call "What's in Your Walkman?" So we at the Progspace and in the Progcast, obviously, we always welcome music that doesn't necessarily fit the common prog tropes or what have you. So is there anything you've been listening to lately that you want to recommend to our listeners that I could put into the playlist that accompanies this Progcast episode?
Yeah, John Coltrane, Blue Train.
Sounds like a classic there.
It's great. It's really nice. And know what it's good for is for eating dinner. Because I like having music while I'm eating, but most of the time it's distracting. Mm-hmm. So that's a good one. Kind of Blue as well, Miles Davis. But I really like all that hippie shit. Like if you're at a spa and someone's painting your toenails, the type of music they play in the background, I listen to that all the time, man, all the time. Like flute music and super mellow, kind of like meditational spa music. I listen to that more than anything.
All right, that's yeah. I can't really pick a track from that recommendation, but yeah, we have.
I can find one for you if you want.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would love to put one in
All
the
right.
playlist.
Let me see. I never pay attention to what the song titles are called. Let me just open Spotify here and see what one of these ones I've been listening to. Oh God, your fan base is gonna hate my guts.
Well, last week I had Tobias Atkins, the singer of Australian band Glass Ocean, on the show, and he said he was listening to a 10-hour mix of the Jolly Roger Bay theme from Super Mario 64 on YouTube.
Oh God, that's a recipe for insanity. Okay, what I've been listening to the past couple of days. Oh, actually, that's a good one. There's what was that? Guy's album called that I love so much? Just recently, I was listening to it. Let me see if I can look in the recently played. How does that work? Come on. His name is Benjy. What's his name? Wertheimer. Benjy Wertheimer. And the song is called. The song is called One River.
One River, all right.
One River by Benjy, Benji. Wertheimer.
All right.
Yeah, Werthiemer.
I'm going to find that, I'm sure. I have to let you go now. You have probably another interview waiting. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm super excited about the upcoming Crazy show, and of course about the release of Order of Magnitude, Empath Live Volume 1. All the best with that. Thank you for taking the time, and talk to you next time when the record is ready in 1.5 years or so.
Thank you, Dario. It's a pleasure, man, and good luck with your work.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
That was a quick goodbye from Mr. Devin Townsend. The poor guy was doing interviews all day long and the whole week, and I think 2 weeks as a whole. But I won't let you go today without adding my own picks for the What's in Your Walkman section. And that would be from the Stickman project, where also Markus Reuter is involved, who also played with Devin Townsend on the Empath Volume 1 tour. From their debut album, where Markus Reuter was actually not yet a part of the Stickman, but on their first album, Soup, in 2010, they did an amazing rendition of Stravinsky's Firebird Suite. And yeah, the Stickmen are obviously Tony Levin on Chapman Stick and Pat Mastalotto on drums, both known as members of King Crimson. And there was another Stickman player who was later replaced by Markus Reuter. Two very different entries from that first one. I want to give a shout out to my friends in Aeries. You might remember them. We did a little Progcast on location special with them, and they have their third single out in the meantime, and the track's called Gizma, and it rocks. It's a great song. I really like it. And last but not least, Andorran progressive death metal legends of Persefone finally re-recorded and re-released their debut album Truth Inside the Shades, and the single from that one would be The Whisper of Man. So these 3 songs I will add to the playlist. That was exactly half an hour now. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Progcast with Devin Townsend. The Progcast returns every Monday and Thursday, and on Fridays we have our very new the Progcast Top 5 with your host Randy M. Salo. I'm really excited about this new format we developed together. Go check it out. Give us a rating on your favorite podcast platforms, and I hope you'll tune in for the next episode as well. Until then, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and listen to great music.
The Progcast is a production of Stuus Media and is presented by the Progspace. It is produced by Randy M. Salo, Janine Stengel-Lewis, Blake Lewis, and Dario Albrecht. Our theme music is by This Is Not an Elephant, and Van Kirsch does our graphics. New episodes of the Progcast drop every Monday and Thursday, and don't miss our Friday Top 5 episode where we discuss our favorite new releases from that week. For more interviews and reviews in the written form, check out theprogspace.com.